Okay. All right. So, of course, this is x to the fifth, y to the negative 2. It's not on the screen yet. I'm fixing that too because I'm a positive Pat. Which is, of course, x to the fifth over y squared. This is, of course, 2a squared b to the fifth. This is, of course, 1.5 to the 10th. And we're all good to there, yeah? Now this is where it gets yucky. Why? What is making this yucky? The fraction. But does anything change? Doesn't that fraction go to all three of these? Doesn't it? And didn't we just learn how to deal with this? Isn't that the cubed root of 8 to the first power? What is the cubed root of 8? To the first power? 2. What is 1/3 times 3? 1. A to the 1. Do we write 1? No. What is 6 times 1/3? B to the 6/3, which is, of course, b squared. According to the commercials, you're supposed to say Robitussin. 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 The commercials, where the person coughs, it's a commercial for Robitussin cough syrup. Oh my, 9 is so extra scary. Why? 2 fractions. But, of course, you remember that these are simply 3 different operations. Right? What is 4 divided by 2? 2. Where should this A go? Just this one. It should go down there, and I would get A to the what? A to the 4th in a denominator. What should I do here? 2/3 minus 1/3. Now I know fractions scare you, but if each of my fingers is worth 1/3, there's 2 of them. Take away 1. Don't take away my index finger. One. So what's the answer? Now, can I leave it like that? Yes, I can. Can I write it another way? Yes, I can. Because isn't this also 2 cube root b over a to the 4th? Everybody with me? Yeah? All right. What are the 2 paths that you could go with number 10 at the very beginning? There's 2 different things you could do for the very first step. Preston, what would you do?
I would do stuff on the inside first.
You would deal with in here first?
Yeah.
Well, that just makes good sense. Because that exponent would have to go there, 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 there. 5 different places. Right? So let's tidy up inside first. What's 100 divided by 25? 4. What's a over a to the 5th? Do those exponents have the same sign? Are they both positive exponents? A to the positive 5, a to the positive 1. Are they both positive? So can I cancel? I can get rid of that 1, which means I get rid of one of those, so I've got a4 down there, don't I? And this b is a negative. Can he live down there as a negative exponent? Where should he go? Now all of that is to the 1/2. Now it's super easy. Because what gets 1/2? Everything. I get 4 to the 1/2, which I remember is the square root of 4, which is 2. What happens with 1/2 and 1/2? Multiply. What is 1/2 times 1/2? B to the 1/4 over what is 4 times 1/2? A squared. Can I leave it like that, or is there another way I could write it? What's the other way I could write it? 4th root of B over A squared. Now, in grade 11 and 12, you need to be able to go back and forth between the two. Okay? That's the big difference from grade 10. In grade 10, I told you it's one or the other, depending on what your teacher asks. In grade 11 and 12, you got to be able to work between the two. Remember I told you I'd throw a couple of new things in to each of the first 3 review units? This is the first new thing. All right. How many of you would take that and put it in here now? Be honest. Hopefully nobody that was in my grade 10 class. But in my grade 10 class, all of you put up your hand. Every single one of you. Why would you not do that now? Because we can do the number 1 math instruction that is on every math. Simplify first. What should I do with that 3/2 and that 1/2? Add them. What's 3/2 and 1/2? 4/2, which is squared. What should I do with that 2 and that -1? Add them to get y to the 1. Now can I substitute in? Now here's where a bunch of you are going to make a mistake. X is -2. So how would I write this? What would I write right there? Jose. Distribute where? I put the x with the x. 3/2 and 1/2 gets me 4 over 2, which is 2, right? And then I did the 2 and -1, which gets me 1.
So you don't need to do the x with the y?
No, because they're different bases, right? X and y can't work together because they're different bases. Now, what would I write in that box for x right now? Satjo. Bracket -2 squared. Why must I put the bracket? Preston. The negative is part of the base because the x is -2. And then the y is super easy. What's y? 3. What is -2 squared? What? +4. And what is +4 times 3? Is +12. And since I have black and red, they don't mix to anything, so I'm just going to write 12. Number 12 is scarier. Is it simplifiable? Where would you start? Manrup, where would you start? You would deal with that guy first? Okay, so you'd have x to the what? 12th. Then what? Negative x. Right. I better deal with this one in here first, right? So I've got x to the 4th, and then negative x to what power? This is tricky. What has to happen there? And you have to look very closely at this particular construction. What does that mean? McKenna.
The 3 inside the brackets applies to just x, but the 4 applies to the negative mx.
Exactly. You have to be very careful here, right? So inside here, this is negative xxx, right? But there's 4 of them. So what's going to happen to that negative? It's going to disappear. So this is really what? X to the 12th cubed, right? What do I do here? What do I do there? X to the what? 16th. All cubed, then what? X to the 48th. And we aren't even going to evaluate that because it's a gigantic, huge number. Is everybody cool? But will that gigantic, huge number be positive or negative? Positive. Why? Because the exponent is even and the base has a negative. Everybody cool? So that would be negative 2 to the 48th. We're going to skip the volume and the surface area. We don't care. This is your work today, page 20. And 21, because you've already done 22. Don't go, 21 has like 8 questions on it. And you can do all of these in your heads. Tell you what, I'm such a good guy. You only need to do 2/3 of it. Make you practice fractions. Any 2/3 of each group, dude. So how many here? 4 of the 6. How many here? That's a little harder. There's 8 of them. What's 2/3 of 8? Yeah. Well, 6 is 3/4 of 8. Oh, darn. I don't care, guys. Practice. All right? Just practice.